Thank you, Taylor. I really appreciate you sharing with me and with others a little bit about your experience with stakeholder center coaching. And as you went into that kickoff session, what was that feeling and kind of what were your expectations? And tell me just a little bit from your experience what it was like for you.
So for me, I think back to that when we first started. I remember that my initial thought was that it might be different than some, but I thought I needed this. I thought it was something that I needed. However, whenever we got into the class, I quickly learned it was going to be a lot of work. And I think my apprehension didn't occur until we were sitting in that session discussing everything that needs to unfold over the next 6 months. And so it kind of felt like at that moment, I was like, oh no, what have I gotten into? But I will say that there is your program has a clear plan, a clear checklist, a clear steps you can follow. And while it will be daunting at first, it is worth it to put in the time and the effort, because without the time and effort, you won't see the results. So I remember sitting there and, at my table, and I sat between Trent and Logan, and I was like, oh guys, this is going to be a lot of work, And so, but I think it is what you make of it. And if you go into it with a negative attitude, that's not going to do you any service. But if you go into it, even if you are nervous, even if it's completely out of your comfort zone, you go into it with a positive attitude that you're going to try and give it your best and follow the program and follow the steps, I think you'll get something out of it, but the more work you're willing to pour into it, the more you'll see back. So
thank you. Tell me a little bit. You said that it seems like a lot of work at the end. Was it really a lot, or was it just kind of a mind shift, or what? Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm gonna stand by. I think it was a lot of work. I do think that there were months with my position. I go through busy times and then dead periods of time there. So I think for me, the work was easier for me to do it in some of those times where I wasn't busy. But when I was busy, it was still reminding myself, like, I have to do this because, even though this month I'm slammed, I'm making this priority. But I will say that, like, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know. My stakeholder meetings, while they did not have to be lengthy, they usually turned into lengthy conversations, so scheduling 5 of those, and then, also writing your thoughts, kind of writing out what you needed, and then our calls. So it is some work on your part, but if you look at your whole month, maybe it's not as much as as everything else. So, kind of a medium workload.
Thank you. So you have a very unique, very, I think, powerful position where you are with compliance, and, you report to the CEO, but then just like in business, like everybody's goal is to grow the business, to grow the business, to grow the business. Your goal is to keep everybody safe and to keep the business safe, and to have growth in a responsible way. I think you're in a really unique position and powerful and influential because you have access to so many people, and everybody has a different perception on what their importance of their role is in the organization, whether it's to grow or whatnot. And do you feel like stakeholder center coaching kind of helped with collaboration across these different job types, or can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for my job, for my position, I feel like it was kind of unique because I don't have, a big department to collaborate with. But from my perspective, I do see a lot. So seeing it affect other members that were in the program with me, and how much better that line of communication was between our different departments, between those people, it was amazing. It was awesome. I mean, it was great. And that has been a huge asset to River Valley. Like, that is the communication being improved through your program, and in working on improving the even sort of the connections that were made in that group, I think definitely has served us well. For me personally, like I made deeper connections with my stakeholders, which was not something I thought would occur whenever I went into this, but I've learned to use them more as resources and work with them. So that's been beneficial as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think collaboration across the organization is so important. And I think even though if you don't have a huge team, you can still collaborate, and it's
Right.
just going to be across that organization.
And
so.
with our organization being split between the East and the West, it's easy for us to not collaborate. It's easy for the West to function and the East to function. So, with us being able to, I've definitely seen that gap be bridged and made a lot smaller. There are still some members of our team that, maybe don't utilize it the way they should, but everyone else seems to be really trying to work together. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So you've got a group of people that are 4 hours away from another group of people. So, from a logistics standpoint, it's not like you jump in the car and go see somebody at a different branch. So
you may not see anybody ever. Like I have people that work here that I have never actually met face to face. So
yeah, that's awesome. So the monthly check-in process, you would meet with your stakeholders and you would just kind of jot down some thoughts and things like that. Did you find that process helpful on a monthly basis? Was it too frequent or not frequent enough? Or what did you kind of get from that?
Well, okay. So I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
My first thought would be to anyone that's going into this program. This is by far the hardest, most difficult, most uncomfortable part of the entire program. There were times where I went into those meetings just straight dreading them. Because I was like, oh no, I'm going to get a laundry list of things I got to work on over the next 4 weeks. And that's just what I need, But I will say that none of them were as bad as I thought they would be. Like every time I went into them, I had good conversations, and I grew from it. It wasn't, nobody was harsh, nobody was rude, no one had things that were just completely unobtainable. I feel like it's very much dependent on your stakeholder. You will have stakeholders who you meet with monthly, and that time is set, and they will literally in that 30 minutes brain dump on you everything, and they'll have a sticky that they had set to the side that they made notes throughout the month on your progress, and and that's just how they function, and that's easier for them. But then you will have some people who I think almost like they would almost prefer you to daily check in with them. They really want you to be, in front of them, seeing your progress daily. And those individuals, that's just kind of how they keep it fresh in their mind. So I think you've really got to kind of within the first meeting, maybe this first, second meeting, even whenever you engage your stakeholders, asking them if they'll help you in this process, kind of go ahead and ask them, like, should we set a time on our calendar, or would you like me just to come in weekly, or how is this going to, how is your schedule? How does this work best for you? How are you thinking right now that you want to do? And then if you were like my group started out pre-COVID, right in the middle of COVID hit. I mean, everything changed. Like we went from where I had, I think two of my stakeholders I did not see after March. We were on different teams, and with them, it was really like they wanted, email communication, phone calls, Zoom, things like that. And then, there may be some individuals that have taken stuff from COVID that's what they prefer. So, I think you've just really got to fill out your stakeholders.
Yeah, communication is key. And the way you tailored it to each one of your stakeholders, I think that's what also helped drive home the recognition and the results that you're able to get by tailoring it to what their needs are, which is so true in life. we're 1 year out from wrapping up the stakeholder center coaching. And, when we look back a year ago, can you kind of talk about what that last wrap up session was like? As far as like how far people had actually come over that time period of working together versus the initial session. And the fact that, we weren't able to wrap up in person. We were in the middle of COVID and we still made it happen because business has to continue. So do you mind talking a little bit about that session?
Yeah, I will say that, like, I think the biggest takeaway from that session for me was some people that in January might not have felt comfortable presenting, all of a sudden we're fine, and I think that was just crazy to me because I was like, you didn't want to even answer a question in January, and now, you're presenting and not thinking anything of it. So I think the growth is very amongst you and your peers is very, 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 you can see it. I mean, it is obvious. I think some of the feedback that you can receive from your peers is also almost as beneficial as what you might have received from your stakeholders. I think that it's very interesting to see that almost every person has taken something from this. Even the individuals that maybe didn't put as much in, they still have taken something from it. And then I think, I'll use Logan to kind of pick on him. I think Logan had like substantial growth in that time. I just think a lot of things changed and Logan had the opportunity to grow. And I think that if you look at how much change happened within his title, like within his position here at River Valley from January to the end of, I think it was the beginning of August, it's absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. But then you have, someone like me who's in the same position, but like, I grew in ways with the connections I made and my presence and working to be more of an asset to River Valley. So, I just think for every person it's different. But it is I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good event wherever you can just see. And it does make, I will definitely tell you not to shy away from the work, but there is a lot of work in this program. So I think it is good at the very end to see where it all went, like what your payoff is. So that's refreshing. So
that's awesome. Thank you. Do you have any big ahas as you reflect back on it, or insights or anything that come to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be honest with you. I am not one person I'm not the kind of worker, I guess you would say, where I need constant supervision. There are times whenever I work that I may not, it didn't even cross my mind that I need to check in. It didn't even cross my mind that I needed to ask others what they needed from me. I was very tunnel vision. I can still be that way, but now I think I have more of a awareness in my office, and I'm more aware of where I can be the most beneficial. But I will be honest, like I'm a year out, and it's still not natural for me to go up and approach someone and ask you, like, hey, what can I do better? What can I do? What can I work on? What can I, how can I, this is where I'm trying to go, and what can I do to get there? That to me is still not natural, and I don't know if it ever will be, but I think it is so crucial. It is a crucial part of it. So I think for somebody to not go through this program and learn that, I can imagine, working here for 10 years and never knowing that.
In your words, would you recommend Stakeholder Center coaching and working with me, or any other thoughts around there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% recommend it. And I would 100% recommend the program. I think your program, is wonderful. I think that you are a fabulous mentor and a great resource for anyone who is wanting to look into, having professional development. I think professional development as a whole is something that is needed now more so than ever. I think that the skills, it's a travesty, but at the same time, the skills that I learned in this program were nothing I had ever learned before, and I have multiple degrees, and it was nothing that no one had ever told me, or had ever discussed with me. And then I think the resources that the books, the articles that you have led me to have also been beneficial. So it's not like this program is a 6 to 8 week or 6 to 8 month program, and then that's that. No, it's like, you'll continue to want to keep using these things you've learned, and continue to grow and hopefully prevent any sort of like plateau. So I 100% recommend it, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time. So
thank you, Taylor. Is there anything I can do for you? You helped me out a bunch by just being able to share your experiences, and I know the other folks that are going through this really appreciate it too.
No, I mean, I'm pretty good here. I think you've definitely helped me, and like we've talked about before, I have a very interesting position here.
You do.
And I think that your insight has greatly improved like mine and Kyle's relationship. So that's huge. And I think that being able to help him has definitely helped River Valley as a whole, if that makes sense. So, I am very thankful, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, you've been a great resource. So I really enjoyed my time. So.
Taylor, I really appreciate it. And I love seeing like all this, I don't know if transformation is the right word, but like I've watched you in these relationships just kind of grow. And I was just like, oh, this is so awesome. I'm like, oh, she's going to do it. And you would like go and get this feedback, and you were like, oh, it wasn't that bad, so I can do that. Yeah. Or you would try it, and then you're like, oh my God, it works. So
and I can just remember
so fun.
Sitting there the very first day, and I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, she wants me to do what? And I was just like, I don't know about this. But I mean, I was scared. And then like I remember so vividly, like the days leading up to every single call, even the last round, I was still like nervous. Like I was still like, this
really?
is not, yeah. And to this day, like, maybe even last week, I was asking somebody, and we are having not an issue, but like we definitely have having a period at River Valley where everybody's traveling, which good for them, very happy. But I mean, like you cannot catch us all together to save your life. So I was like, what do you need? Because I know you're gone for 2 weeks, and what do you need from me? What can I do to help during that time? And that still didn't feel like 100% natural, but I was like, Catherine would want me to do that. So
that's awesome. No, I love it. And that's so funny that you think it's scary, because all I remember is like compliance and legal are the two scariest people in an organization. And I'm like, compliance isn't scared of anybody, because they can just make it happen or not make it happen. So,
and it isn't really so much approaching someone and asking like what they need. I guess it's just like whenever you make it about your personal development and like, I don't know. It just feels unnatural to me. But like I said, like you've got to keep doing it. You can't stop. You've got to, because I mean, if you ever get out of the habit, then you just won't do it.
Yeah, it's like servant leadership. Leaders
absolutely.
Eat last, and you guys have a great leadership team, and you're part of it, and you guys are doing it, and it's really a treat to get to hear everything
and
that you guys are creating.
I mean, in the scheme of things, we are really young. I mean, our association is really young. I mean, even Kyle's not that old. So it's just like, we are going to have these growing pains, I guess is what, is what I refer to them as. But if we can keep working towards like a common goal, and like each one of us keep trying to personally develop ourselves and become these leaders that we need right now, because we want to avoid having some sort of like, I don't know, I had an auditor the other day that referred to it as a knowledge vacuum.
Yeah,
which I mean, it's true. We do have some people in our association that they left, they would leave a void, so we are just going to try to prevent that. So
Well, you guys had some crazy change that was unexpected during all of that, on top of COVID, on top of doing the AB schedule and everything else. So, I mean, y'all bounced from that. And I think you guys working as a team can bounce from anything. You might hit speed bump, but it's just a speed bump for you guys. It's nothing major.
And to think, like, I don't know, 14 months ago, I mean, we thought we were up the creek.
And you weren't.
But we weren't, you know, and that's what I say that all the time. I'm like, if we could have made it through that 6-week span where everything went wrong here. I mean, I hope in my professional life, I never experienced like kind of, you know, that time period where we had, you know, people leaving and COVID and like everything was happening. So I hope now from now on, we'll just take one thing at one time, you know. That would be great.
It never works that way. But at least like you're young, you got out of the way. You'll be like, oh, I can't be as bad as that. And, you know, it'll just be something different.
Yeah, nothing looks as scary as it did now, you know, so.
Yeah, perspective. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
Honestly, I can't imagine what we would have done if we didn't have 16 people in your program during that time, because it helped. You know, it helped tremendously, because like all of a sudden it went from being like a mission to kind of train up and pour into some people that there were potential there to we need leadership and we needed it yesterday kind of deal. So, you know.
And you were in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
It's so crazy because you look at the organization, everybody is so relatively young for Farm Credit.
Mm-hmm.
And then for that many shifts of seats can be moved around during COVID. And y'all just popped it right back in. I mean, y'all just put people back on the bus and you're like, this is how we're going to charge on. And you did it. And it was awesome.
So
you guys are awesome.
Or, well, we try.
You're rock stars. Are the crops looking good? Everybody's happy?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty happy right now. You know, I think everybody would feel better if we had a little bit more volume right now, but that's just, you know how it goes, ebbs and flows.
Well, good. Well, I really appreciate everything. If there's anything I can do for you, will you let me know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Taylor, you're the best. Thank you. Tell everybody I said hey.
I will. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.